Okay, at this time, I'm going to refer it back to Chairman Stroud.
Okay. Now, Chairman, I'm going to turn it back over to you so that you can introduce Michael May. Okay?
Okay, I will introduce Michael May, Chief of IT Division. He's going to talk about our mobile app demonstrations.
Thank you very much, and it is indeed an honor to come before you today to demo the new native mobile app. What I'm going to do to begin with is kind of get you up to speed and about what we've got out there right now, because back in February we came out with a mobile optimized website, and I'll show it to you right here. I've got it on the phone. You guys can watch this live. And this is an iPhone, and what we've got right here up on the top right hand corner would be like what we've got out there right now. If an individual would go to their smartphone, an iPhone, an Android, or a feature phone, and type in the internet, the Safari on here, go twra.org, then you would come up to this website right here. And that's what we have out there right now since February. And this is tied in with our real system with Active Network, Active Outdoors, and customers can buy their license right here, boat renewals, harvest reporting, and view the harvest log and diary. That's much like what I presented to you back in January, February. So I won't get into that right here, but just to spin you up, let you know what we have out there right now. And that is not a downloadable app. It's basically what I mentioned before. It is a mobile optimized website. Now, what we've been working on for the past 2.5 years, and Don King and Stephanie Palm initiated that program about 2.5 years ago, and Stephanie Palm is our agency's web developer, and she spearheaded this, and she's been working with a company called Hunt Fish Buddy. And we should be getting ready to have this go out to the public the first half of November. This will be a downloadable app, what we call a native app. It will be for the iPhone series and the Android phones, both. And right here, you can see our agency logo, and when you download it, you'll be able to hit this icon, and here we go. It'll begin like that. That was, I'll show it again, that was the genius of our very own Todd Mazaros. Let me show it to you one more time, actually, I like it. It took him about 4 years to create that, I think. I think it was about a week and a half.
Looks like Bill Cox going to lunch.
And just a real quick note on that, we gave him an idea. Actually, Rick Morris came up with the idea about having some kind of a intro into the app, to the homepage that was animated, and we gave him all these great ideas, gave Todd all these great ideas that we wanted it to do, and we thought we were really cool, and then a couple weeks later we got something back, and it was a tremendous leap ahead of what we had given him, and we just realized that the next time we need to give him some kind of information, we just give him some stick figures on a piece of paper and let him do it himself. All right, so the home page, what we have right here, and I think the easiest way to do it is I'm going to show you what happens at the bottom first. You have the home page, and you hit that menu button down at the bottom, and we have a dedicated page for the hunting, a dedicated page for fishing, boat, and watchable wildlife on the right. So I'm going to go back to the home page so just you can see where we're going from here. Now at the top of the button, or the top button rather, we've incorporated the app, the mobile optimized app that we have out there right now with this one. So if you hit that top button, it will take you, and I apologize for the internet connectivity here, it will take you to the website I just showed you a minute ago. So people can go ahead with this one app, they can go in and download and buy a new license, whatever they want to do. That's taking longer than I want it to. I'm going to close it, but basically it goes to this. We have bad internet connection in here, but if you hit that top button, it goes to this, okay? Just so you know. There you go. Once again, people can go buy a license, any kind of license that you can buy on the internet right now, do a boat renewal, a harvest report review, a harvest log and diary. You go back, and they can hit the boat renewal if they want to hit that directly. The regulations button, you hit that, Then we have a drop-down window that specific for boating, fishing, hunting and trapping, and waterfowl. I'll click on the boating one. Now hopefully that takes... We're running a 4G MiFi here, and we're not using the in-house Wi-Fi. And our 4G MiFi is a lot faster than the Wi-Fi, so good thing we're doing that. Now the boat regulation page is mobile optimized, and it's pretty easy to see. I'm not going to get granular on that. I want to give you the overview of what it can do. So you can go back to the regulation button, and obviously they've got, like I said a moment ago, the boating, the fishing, the hunting and trapping, and the waterfowl. This is all on the home page. And also they can go and hit the sunrise and sunset times, which is important. It'll utilize your GPS coordinates and find out where you're at, and it'll give you the sunset and sunrise time for the location that you're in. So that'll help the individual be legal. Find a recipe. A lot of these say that they're Tim White, but I've got good intel from Daryl that a lot of these are actually his, but I don't know if that's true or not. We'll grab one of here, take a look at that. A lot of squirrel. And you can see, I won't get into the details of it, but you can see how, like on the bottom here, I can scroll through that, and it's a lot more text than one might see right off the bat. So these screens are scrollable, and we can hit the top left-hand button and go back to the home page again, go back one more time, and now we're back down at the very home page. Now submit your trophy is really cool. This is Jason Harmon's page. You click on here, and this will take you to this screen where an individual can have a photo on their phone, and they can upload their photo of whatever deer, turkey, whatever they've gotten, and email it right up to, what is it called, Tennessee Wildcast. Uploads it directly. So this is another function that's right here on the phone, and they can submit it directly onto the Tennessee Wildcast, and Jason, within about 1 to 2 business days, will have that up on the website. Absolutely. He checks to make sure that there's nothing wrong with it. And here on the bottom, I won't go to all of these just for the sake of time, but you do have, if you can hear me, the agency logo, that goes to our homepage, Facebook page, Twitter page, YouTube, and our newsroom page, all the applicable page for the agency. Now we'll go to the menu button again like I showed you to begin with, and we'll just go to the hunt. That'll take you to the hunt page, and it's much like the same feel that we had on the home page. You have hunting regulations, I won't show that again. Harvest reporting, you hit the harvest reporting page, and that will take you to the applicable page that I showed you to begin with that goes to AO, goes into the real system. You can go right in and report your harvest right from this app, directly while you're in a tree stand or whatnot. Find a WMA. It's one of the many types of functions that we have on here where we have a find a WMA, find a check station, find a Hunters for the Hungry processor, or on the other pages I'll show you it has a find a boat ramp, find a place to fish, and so forth. Now if the internet will work with me here, I'll find a WMA just to show you how that works real quick. Hopefully it's real quick. There you go. The blue button right there in the middle is me. And I can shrink that if I want to do that and find these little red pins, and those are WMA locations. I can click on one. Then I can hit the I for more information to tell me about it. I can hit that phone number there. If I want to call directly, I can hit that phone number and I can call if I want to do that. I can cancel back out of there. And if I want to go there, I can hit directions on the top right-hand button, and it'll take me into the embedded directional service inside the iPhone, and that Android will do it the same way. I'm sorry? Some of these don't have descriptions. We're trying to upload all that information into the database. This is still being worked on. Now, if the individual wants to go here, you can hit start. Does everybody know how that works? It's pretty cool. Hit start, and it should say it. Nope. We have this turned off because I didn't want to get any phone calls or anything while I'm up here. You start moving, and it'll take you right there. So you don't have to worry about using any other app, no other GPS system. The app will take care of everything that you need it to do. And I'll close out of the app and go back into it. And then we can back out of here and go back to that page again. The same thing works for find a check station and find a hunter for the hungry processor. One more function on here, and I'll move forward. If we want to click on that search with a city name, you can click on that and just type Nashville. And then I can go ahead and search from Nashville the closest locations to Nashville and scroll through it going away from Nashville. So I don't even have to be in that location. I can search in a city somewhere else in the state, and it'll show me the closest locations to that city moving outward. I can click on any of them and do the same thing from there. And then if it gives me directions, if I want to go to find directions to that location, it'll give me directions for where I really am. Same things for, I'm sorry?
Is there a way to also have maybe processing places on there too?
We have Hunters for the Hungry processors right here. That's what that is on the bottom. So on this hunting page, we have find a WMA, find a check station, and find a Hunters for the Hungry processor. Each one of those are separated by category. Any questions on that page? Hopefully we'll have this up and running by the middle half of November. What we'll do is the one that's out there right now is just basically a website that you go to, a mobile optimized website that you can go to right now. And we keep that updated. People don't have to worry about it because it's just a website that they hit. Now this one, we're going to work with Don King and all the I&E professionals and make sure that we get the word out. We're going to have it up on our website, all the various social network sites that we own, that we utilize. All that information will be out there. We're going to send flyers out to the different check stations, everything that we can think of to get out there. I know Don and I have we have a thing going on with Doug Markham, don't we? The first half of November sometime we're going to get on his show and we're going to talk about it. Basically, we have a widespread type of I&E push to get the word out that this is going to happen. People will just go to the iStore or the Android App Store and download it. We're going to call it TWRA. It might just be TWRA, it might be TWRA on the go. We haven't decided on a name yet. Either way, it'll have the agency letters in it, and you can do a search on that, and they'll find it. They'll download it, and then any other updates that we have to it as time goes on, we'll send out automatic pushes, just much like the app that you have right now and various other apps that you have. Now the fish page, fishing regulations, fishing reports. The fishing reports go to the fishing reports website. Find a place to fish, acts just like the others. I won't go into that. The fish ID guide is really cool. We've defaulted on these fish pictures right here until we can get all the proper Bobby, I caught this fish pictures so we can put on there. I think he's got one for all these, don't you, Bobby? We haven't done that yet. So we'll just grab one of these, the bluegill, and it shows you a big picture of it, and you can scroll through the information. And this all information is applicable to Tennessee. It's not general information that you would have for the states. All the information that we have here is applicable to Tennessee. And I'll back out of here. Go to boating. Then you have boating regulations, find a boat ramp, and boat renewals. A boat renewal page will pop up so they can buy that. It goes back to the real network, or the active network system. And that picture right there is of Betsy Woods driving the Wear It boat. And then the watchable wildlife page. And we have find a viewing area for watchable wildlife as well, where they can find things. And you hit the watchable wildlife button, and that will go to our watchable wildlife page. And there's just, you can sit here all day long and look at this page. There's a lot of stuff on here, and if I can take one moment just to show you something pretty neat. We can go into the birds, for example, click that bird button. And then you can expand it. I'll just pick forest bird. Expand it some more. And I'll drop down that search button. And in here, the way that it works is we've got a roller bar down on the bottom. And you can fine-tune that category. I'll hit brown, for example. And now, for that category of bird, here are all the brown ones. And we can go into wood duck. And there's all your information. You can expand that and do everything you want to do. So there really is a lot there for the watchable wildlife people as well. Credit to Scott Summershoe with all that, for sure. Now, I know that's a lot of information, but just to revisit it and summarize real quick, we have a home page that you can get most of your quick information that most people would want to see right off the bat. You have all your buttons on the bottom to hit our agency page, all the various types of social media pages, and our newsroom page. And then if you hit the menu button on the bottom, we can go to specialized pages such as hunt, fish, boat, and watchable wildlife. And it does tie in very nicely with the mobile optimized web page that we have with Real Active Network right now. So it's all comprised and together on this one. Now the cool thing with that is if individuals don't want to download this app and they have a feature phone, where basically that means that they don't have the ability to download an app, but they can get on the internet. They can still get onto this one right here. And let me show you. Our active network one. They can still hit this. We're not taking that down. And they still have the functionality that they currently have right now. So we're basically not taking anything away, but we're expanding it and giving people a lot more options. And the app, the downloadable native app will be ready, like I said, the first half of November, and it'll be for iPhone and Android. Any questions? I'd like to say that Stephanie Palm, she's done an outstanding job spearheading this, working with this. She's basically been the one working with the vendor, Hunt Fish Buddy, countless hours day and night over the weekends, over the past 2 years, just working very hard at this. So we need to really put a shout out there for Stephanie Palm. She's unable to be here today, but we wish she could have been. But she's doing a great job, so thank you, Stephanie. No, that's a very good question. And I'll point out a lot of these things that we hit right here, like the fishing reports, the regulations, those type of things are hitting other websites. And it's not looking like it's hitting another website in here. That's by design. A lot of these apps will close and then open up a browser and then go to another website, and the customer will know that it's going to another website. We've done it in such a way that it looks like it's embedded in the application itself. So all of those types of things like you're talking about there are hitting another website, and we're keeping those updated like we would anyway. So you don't have to do anything about upgrading that app for those types of things.
I just wanted to say thank you. I think that this is fantastic. It takes a lot to build an intuitive, user-friendly app like this, and I'm very excited about it. I think it exposes wildlife opportunities and outdoor opportunities beyond our typical base, and I think that's a very good thing. And for those who are users and who are frequent users, it expands opportunities for us. And so I think that's really exciting for Tennesseans. I'm looking forward to seeing how this progresses over the course of the next year.
Well, thank you very much. But I have to tell you, it's been a concerted effort with the agency. I am not going to stand here and take credit for this at all. Stephanie Palm, Don King and his team, excuse me, Todd Mazros, Jason Harmon, and Wilma Newsom and Rick Morris. And I will tell you, a lot of people from the other divisions, fish, boating, wildlife, for example, all of them came together whenever we needed them to get input, information. It's been a total agency effort, so we need to make that point made.
Well, then thank everyone who's participated in this and who will continue to participate in it. Thank you.
Any questions? We'll let you guys know when it's moving
Director
out.
Carter.
Hopefully we'll be done about by the middle of November. I will say one thing is we were trying to get it out by the end of September, but the new iOS 7 push that came out from Apple, it broke our app pretty bad. So we had to work with the vendor, and the vendor has come through with shining colors and worked around the clock to try to fix those bugs from the iOS 7 push, and we're able to probably get it out here within about another 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully.
Director Carter, you want
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say thanks as well. I don't know the number of hours that have gone into this, but I know over the last year, Michael or Don or people from their divisions would come by and say, hey, we've got this much ready. Come and look at what we've done. What do you think? And I mean, that was a courtesy because I don't know anything about it. But they would come and ask me what I think. I'd give them my 2 cents worth, and pretty soon they're off and running on another part. So it really doesn't, when you see it, it's to me it's very impressive, but it really doesn't reflect the amount of time that's gone into it. And I just want to say thanks for all that they've done in putting it together. I think it's going to get a lot of use. I really do. And the last thing, we looked when we probably a fourth of the way into this, we looked at a lot of the other states that were trying to do something similar, and we wanted to be unique in ours and how it looked and how the approach to it, and I think he's accomplished that.
Thank you, Director Carter. Is there any other questions from the commission, the audience? I mean, obviously I'm impressed. I mean, I remember trying to teach my dad how just to set a VCR, and so now I've got somebody like Trey that teaches me how to use my phone, so I think I can even maybe maneuver this app, so that's awesome. We appreciate Mike and all that our I-Need group does. It's pretty impressive, so thank you very much for that presentation. Before we get out of retention recruitment, can you comment, you had commented coming down the hall about the fishing in the schools?
The Fishing in Schools program has been around a couple 3 years, maybe a little longer. When it was first beginning, the lady named Katie Cole, who was chairing the thing nationally, came and trained some of our folks to be instructors, and then we've had it as a pilot in a few schools around. But I got a call from the director's office in Virginia, and we were talking. They pitched an idea that they would like for in the Bristol area, since it's a Tennessee, Virginia thing, if they could go together with Tennessee, pick some pilot school programs, and they've got an almost yes from what I would say was some vendors that you would immediately recognize that want to help sponsor this and put it together in a pilot number of schools in this area on a 3-year time program. And it's a combination of really 3 different programs. It'll be the fishing in the schools. It started out fly fishing in the schools. Now it's going to be fishing in the schools and takes in all aspects of fishing. And also a thing called trout in the schools, which a few schools have already started. So the combination of that, but between the Fishing in the Schools Foundation that Katie runs and the Wildlife Agency in Virginia and the Wildlife Agency in Tennessee, I think that's going to happen. And if y'all thinks that's a good thing to try in this area, it's certainly a pilot program that we'd be interested in bringing to you and going forward with.
Thank you very much. I was hoping Commissioner Teague was listening to that, because he often says I shouldn't even be on this commission because he says I live in Virginia. So it's good that we're working with Virginia on this program. So unless there's any other questions, we'll move out of retention recruitment. No comment? Okay. All right. We're going to move on to Fisheries Management Committee. I'm going to ask Vice Chairman Bill Cox to handle that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bart Carter.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Well, we usually talk about
fish at this meeting and those with fins, but I'm going to talk about crayfish today and what the agency has done here in recent years to address crayfish. As you know, the agency is charged with managing crayfish and falls under the Fisheries program. And a lot of the efforts have been developed here in Region 4, but have spread statewide as far as collecting baseline information and developing information that leads us to the proclamations that Bobby will discuss here in a few minutes. But with that, I'll just start in. What I want to do today is try to give you a little bit of background about crayfish. Some of you may not know their ecological importance. And then a little bit about the efforts inside the agency to gather information, which has led to the development of the proclamations that we have to manage these species. And just a short glimpse on some of the species that we have here in Tennessee. The resource we have, most diverse in the U.S., with 87 species described. We have several that are listed by the state or the Fish and Wildlife Service as threatened, endangered, or in need of management. We have one federally listed, the Nashville crayfish, which is centered right in town. And fortunately, it's a fairly tough critter and has done real well in Mill Creek watershed. So a lot of diversity there and a lot of things to look after as far as regulating this group of animals. Habitat, a lot of y'all have seen crayfish out in streams, burrows. We have a lot of species that burrow down to the water table. A particular picture there is a crayfish chimney. Y'all may have seen some of those around, and that's a burrowing species that goes down to the water table and spends most of its life cycle beneath the ground. We have cave species, of course, streams and rivers, and then lakes and ponds are also habitat for a variety of species that we have in Tennessee. How are crayfish important? They're an important predator in the ecosystem. They, of course, consume a lot of vegetation and also kind of clean up things. They eat a lot of carrion or dead animals that are in the stream, and they capitalize on that food source. And then, of course, they're a really important food source for other animals, birds, fish, otters, those kind of animals. So an important food resource for both terrestrial and aquatic animals. During the last 20 years, our efforts really started back in the early 90s, and since then we've kind of progressed and developed techniques and done a lot more intensive surveying, not only in the region but across the state. So we have several different mechanisms that we use to collect crayfish, and of course electrofishing that we typically employ with fishes is also effective in collecting crayfishes. Of course, just getting out and turning rocks, using nets and seines. And a lot of times for those burrowing species, like you saw in the previous slide, we actually excavate or dig, with shovels. And I think the record to date is about a 4-foot hole to extract a crayfish. So these things can go fairly far down into the ground depending on where the water table's at. The far picture there, I just want to stop just a minute and recognize the gentleman there in the picture. The middle picture is Carl Williams, and he's a fisheries technician here in Region 4. And he has kind of spearheaded the efforts here in Tennessee as far as crayfish collection. Self-taught, just an extremely intelligent individual, and has really just opened up the doors for us as far as managing crayfish species here in Tennessee. But anyway, typically, we use traps like the minnow traps that you can buy commercially. The picture over there with the little white pipe in the ground is a pipe trap, and that's used to collect burrowing species, and it's just simply a piece of PVC with a cap in it and a little gate on the bottom. And as these crayfish come in and out of their burrows, they see that as an obstacle, and they'll go up in there, and once they cross that door, the flap drops and they're trapped. So some unique contraptions that we have to collect these crayfish species. So why is it important for us as an agency to manage these? And these are just some of the highlights, or some of the situations that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that requires us to look at this group of animals. Invasive species, crayfish species, are important to us. We have two really invasive ones that we have here in East Tennessee that have displaced native species. So managing those, harvest that we'll address in proclamation is another concern, either for bait or for food. This has become more prevalent here in recent years in how we manage crayfish. Of course, habitat loss and pollution, listed species, we do status surveys on those, and then aquaculture is another realm that we have to deal with, and we've recently had to do some evaluations of aquaculture proposals out in West Tennessee. So we have to take a look at those and see what species are suitable for any given area in the state. So with that, that's just kind of a background of why we do it and how we do it. A few years ago, we wanted, as we went into developing the bait proclamation that we'll discuss in a minute, we wanted to see how other states were engaging the issues revolving around the crayfish management in their particular states. So we did a survey, nationwide survey, to look at just how they do that. And I'll get into a little bit about that here. We wanted to see how states dealt with non-native species. That was a concern for our agency. The pet trade, again, looking at non-native crayfish. And we wanted to look on how states dealt with the sale of crayfish as bait, since that was kind of the way we were going in developing the bait proclamation. Looking at importation controls, and then how states regulated people that were capturing crayfish for bait to use as for fishing purposes, how they monitored those or restricted them from moving them around inside of a state. And from that survey, we got a pretty good response. Those states with the crayfish on were the ones that responded to us. We had 29 states that came back with answers to those questions that we had presented to them. And so what did we find out? 68% of those responding had non-native crayfish, so a big problem with native fauna and managing those non-natives in that regard. Pet trade regulation was the least. 41% of those responding had some kind of regulation in place to keep pet shops from bringing in exotic species. Sale for bait, 62%, a good percentage of states had some regulation in place on that, and a little over half had importation controls. As far as moving crayfish between watersheds within a state, about 60% had something in place for that. So this kind of gave us an idea that, hey, a lot of the states in the U.S. are moving that way with crayfish, and we need to look at how we're doing it here in Tennessee and kind of be proactive to try to protect the species that we have and the habitats that they live in. Now, as far as crayfish collections, this is where Carl's work has been very important. And this first slide here, and I'll have another overlay that shows the additional Smithsonian records, but this is where TWRA has been across the state. This is fairly current. There's a few more dots that we've added, but you can see a lot of work in East Tennessee, and as you go westward, not so much out there. So we're trying to concentrate on getting some more data there. And we have collaborated with the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. to try to get some of their records, And we've been able to go in and do that and geo-reference those records. And when we look at that, we had a lot more locations across the state. So pretty good database of what we have in Tennessee, where the rare things are, and where the invasive things are. Another thing that we're looking at doing right now is developing a crayfish page where we will have species accounts that give basic life history, where these things are located, their protective status, and just general information about crayfish and how they're used. So, yeah, kind of in a wrap up, well, what have we done as an agency? Well, we've developed an aquatic nuisance species plan, and within that plan, there is a section that deals with crayfish and how our agency will address non-native introductions, and it's a lot of that is addressed in the bait proclamation and through the plan. Again, just reiterate that we have the bait proclamation. Today, Bobby will address amending the sport fish proclamation for crayfish as a food item. Distribution surveys, again, those are the dots on the map. Evaluation of aquaculture proposals, status of listed species, and we also comment on aquatic alteration permits issued by the state, such as TDOT projects. We get a lot of requests to come out and look at new bridges, road projects that may impact crayfish. So what are the management and conservation needs? There's a lot of a buzz out there now with different things about genetics. Crayfish is no exception. There's a lot of university research being done right now on crayfish genetics. Species descriptions, we have about 14 species that are new to science here in Tennessee that haven't been described, and we've been fortunate enough here in East Tennessee to find a few that are new to science. Of course, distribution surveys, species accounts, those will be a web base that I just described earlier that we're trying to produce, and then continued monitoring of our listed species. And what I want to do here is just show you a few examples of the diversity that we have here in Tennessee. The bottlebrush, this is probably our newest species. It's from Shoal Creek down in Lincoln County. Shoal Creek flows as a Tennessee River tributary, it flows into Alabama. But what I want to point out here is that this is deceptive. That crayfish can get about 10 inches long. So we're talking a really large crayfish. And it was recently discovered down there. It has a similar species, the bottlebrush crayfish, which is native to the Barren River system in north central Tennessee. And likewise, it attains the large size. Hairy crayfish, no explanation on the name there. You can see all the hair on that. That's a Region 2 crayfish, Highland Rim. These two here, well, I mentioned aquaculture earlier. These are two that are the ones that are most often cultured in a controlled situation, the white river crayfish, and then the ones that you see most often at the restaurants or your grocery stores, the red swamper. And those are native to West Tennessee, Mississippi drainage, and both of these have been moved within the state. We have both of these in the East Tennessee, which are outside their native range. So those are considered ANS over here, or aquatic nuisance species over here in East Tennessee. Burrowers, I mentioned earlier, these are a couple of burrowers that live in coastal plain or West Tennessee, Region 1, painted devil crayfish and painted hand mudbug. You can see there's a lot of color variation and just brilliantly colored individuals. And then I'm going to finish up with our two main invasives that we have, virile crayfish and Kentucky river crayfish. Both of these are Ohio river drainage species and have been widely introduced across the country, and Tennessee's no exception. primary mechanism for introductions through bait, and that's where we addressed the sale of bait in Tennessee. These are prohibited from being sold in Tennessee for bait. So before that regulation came into place, that was the major avenue for these things to get released here in Tennessee. The Kentucky River is probably more problematic for us than the Virile. Here in East Tennessee, we have a few streams where the native crayfish community has almost been replaced by this invasive species. So I will kind of conclude with that and answer any questions.
Anybody on the committee have any questions? Commission? Congregation? Thank you, Bart.
Welcome, thank you.
Pause, just for tape change, please.